Hello everyone, welcome to my next video. In this video we are going to walk through adding a skip to content button on our website. This is used for accessibility purposes, specifically for people who can't navigate a website using a mouse and may need to do it using either a screen reader or a keyboard. So typically when a person using a keyboard is going to access the website, in this case, I will show you the example. If I hit tab, it's going to move me about the page. So typically it starts at the top here, and you can see it goes to the very first link on the page. And if I hit tab again, it's going to take me to the menu, and I'll have to tab all the way through before I can get to the content on the actual page. And let's say that, I got to the website the first time, and I've navigated through the menu, but now I just want to navigate to the actual content on the page. What I need to do is have a button here so I don't have to navigate through all of the menu items every single time. So what that would look like is if I come over to this page, again starting at the top here, if I hit tab, you can see I get a button that comes down here and into view. And if I hit enter on my keyboard, it's going to take me to the main section on my page. And if I hit tab again, it's just going to take me to the next link on the actual page, and so on. Where without that, if I hit tab again, it starts me at the top and I have to go through everything before I can actually get down onto the actual page. So it's a pretty simple thing to do, and I'm going to walk you through how to do that today. So let's dive right in. We are going to start first with our home page. So I'm just going to jump into Oxygen Editor. All right, now that we're in here, I'm going to open my structure panel and select my inner content, and what I'm going to do is add a div. And with this div, I'm going to click my selector here and make sure I'm on my ID. And if you're in the edit part, what I'm going to do is just rename this to main, all lowercase. Click enter, and if you click off, it should keep it. All right, so what we're going to do is start putting everything inside it. So I'm just going to drag all of these in here, one by one. Certainly if you're starting your page brand new, you'll make your div first, so you don't have to drag everything inside it. You'll just start with everything inside it. And I'm also going to rename this here. So I'm going to click the little pencil, rename, highlight everything, and I'm just going to call that main. So next, what I'm also going to do is come over back to my editor section over on the left hand side. I'm going to click advanced attributes. I'm going to add an attribute, call this role and main. I'm going to click apply, and I'm going to click save. And from here, now we can go ahead and jump back to the back end. So I'm just going to click back to WordPress and admin. One thing I quickly wanted to mention, so I'm going to jump back into Oxygen, is that anytime we build out more pages, we do want to make sure that we are adding that main div onto every single page that we're adding, and making sure that we are actually renaming it with the ID of main. You can try to add in the item by using a reusable item, and you can see I have that here. I did that off camera because I just wanted to show you quickly. So if I click back on my main content here and add in this by being editable, and assume that there was no content in there. And again, it's actually not letting me because I have this other one in here. So let me just jump back here and try that again and click editable. You can see that it actually doesn't bring in my ID name as main, so I do have to reset that in the case that we are actually setting it to use a reusable component. So I typically just add the div and rename it myself, and that way I don't have to worry about forgetting it if I just use a reusable element. So I just wanted to quickly touch on that, because if you do not have your main ID on the page, when you actually go to use it on the front end, it's not actually going to work. So I'm going to click save, and we're going to jump back to the front end or back end, I apologize, and we're going to keep going from here. Then I'm going to go over to my template, and I'm going to go into my global header and footer, which I already have set up. I'm going to click edit with Oxygen. All right, I'm going to open my structure panel, and I'm going to expand my header builder and my header row and my row left, which is going to be my link wrapper, which is our logo here, which I believe has an image inside of it. I just pulled this from existing design set along with the home page as well, and I haven't done anything else with it thus far. So what we're going to do in this header row, we are going to add in another link, or actually a text link. So you can search it on the left-hand side and add that in. And the important part is we want it to be above our link wrapper here. You want it to be the very first link that is showing within the builder, the highest up in your HTML. So what we're going to do is click to edit this, and we're going to call skip to content. I'm going to click done. I'm going to come over to my URL here, and we're going to put the # or hash, and we're going to go to main. So that's going to allow us to link directly to our main div that we just set up on our home page. From there, I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to go to my attributes, add, and I'm going to add 2. And from here, I'm going to do tab index. I'm going to set that to 0. And next, I'm going to do aria label. And I'm going to do skip to content. And I'm going to click apply. Next, we're going to start stylizing this a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is, just because we're set to this black background, I'm actually going to make this white. So if you have a white in your color panel already, go ahead and choose that. Otherwise, you can just set it as FF. And make sure you put the symbol in before it. All right, so we got our color there, and now we're going to add a little bit of padding here. So let's go ahead and we'll see what it looks like with 10 on top. Do 20 on each side. And 10 is probably going to be too much, so I'm just going to do 5. And again, you'll have to play with it to see what works best for you. All right, next, and actually this is going to change too once we get this fully set up, which we'll get to here in a second now that we did our size. So we're going to click on layout, and we want to come all the way back, all the way to the bottom, and we're going to click absolute. And you can see now that is showing over our logo here instead of pushing everything to the right. So what I'm going to do is also set my Z index to 1, just so I make sure that it's the topmost item here. And you can see we're not getting the logo coming through anymore like we were. You can see when we do this, it's kind of over the top there. So again, set your Z index accordingly. 1 in my case. Certainly if your menu is set differently, you may have to go a higher number. So this looks good to me. So what I'm going to do next is click my back arrow. We're going to come to our typography, and we can set this to be, I'm going to increase my font weight just so it's a little bit thicker here. And I'm going to make sure we have our underline. And I think our color is going to be okay with our just blue link color that is standard within Oxygen. Certainly you can color it as needed. Just make sure that your color contrast is good. All right, we're not going to add an actual border, but we are going to add just a little bit of radius just to make it look a little bit better. I don't like sharp corners for my buttons. That's just a personal preference. So you can set it how you see fit for you for your design purposes, but I'm just going to add 4 pixels on each side. Next, we're going to come down to our effects, and we're going to do a transition of 0.5. I'm going to set it to ease in out. I'm going to click the back arrow. Next, we're going to come down to transform, and we are going to do translate Y, and we're going to set this to a %. And you may have to play with it depending on the size of your header, but I'm going to go with 150, and actually it's going to be -150, and you can see it's going off the top now. You may have to go more or less depending on how big your actual menu is, but 150 is going to work for me, so just play around with that a little bit. I'm going to click my back arrow, and we'll hit back again. The next thing I'm going to do is now come up to my state, and we're going to click add state, and we're just going to add focus. Click OK, and it's going to add that into our list here. The very first thing I'm going to do is come down to my effects again. I'm going to add in the same transition, just so we have it on both sides. Again, I'm going to add ease in out. Click my back arrow, and we're going to go to transform. And we're going to, again, do a translate. And we're just going to do 1. And I'm going to do it at % just so we're using the same values, or same measurements, I should say. So now you can see it's back to showing. And if I go back to original, you can see it slides up. And if I come down to focus, it slides back into view. So next thing I'm going to do is click my back arrow twice, and we're going to come to our custom CSS. And from here, I am going to add in 1 line here, and it's going to be outline. We can color this appropriately, so I'm going to do 2 pixels, solid, and you can choose your color. Now, depending what color you have going, you may have to, you want to make sure you choose something that pops out, both from the white and the black. So we can try the blue and see how that sounds, or how that looks. I'm just going to hit apply here, and I'm going to collapse. And you can see it's not showing right now because we're not actually focused on it. I'm going to click my back arrow, and I think that's going to be everything we need here. All right, so I'm going to click save. And the other thing I want to point out while we're in the back end here is we're going to go into settings by clicking on manage and settings. And if you click on page settings, animate on scroll. No, I apologize, it's scripts. If you have this checkbox checked, the smooth scroll to hash links, if you have this checked, you're going to have issues jumping to your hash links. So we want to make sure that this is not checked. So I'm going to click my back arrow here and click it again because we were under page settings. I'm also going to do the same thing under global styles and scripts. You want to make sure it's unchecked here as well. All right, so we can go ahead and click save. And now we're going to jump to the front end. So I have that here, and before I click refresh, you can see if I hit tab on my keyboard, it's first taking me to the very first link on the page, which happens to be the logo here. And if I hit tab again, it takes me in order here. So you can see that we don't have that there. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and click refresh here. And if I do the same exact thing this time, you can see that the very first thing we get when we tab is our skip to content. And if we hover it and look all the way down in the bottom here, you can see we're getting our hash link to main. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and click that. And when I do that, if I hit tab again, you're going to see it takes us to our next link, which is our Get Started button. So again, coming up to the top here, if I click tab, it's going to go to skip to content. And if you click enter, it's going to take us to our main content area, where if I hit tab, it's going to go to my next clickable link or item, which is in this case our Getting Started button. So if we didn't have that set up properly, what we'd have to do to get to this is actually tab through everything. So again, if I start here and do it again, we're going to go to our logo and then through all our menu items until we get all the way down here. So by adding this, we can just skip having to navigate through all the menu items and jump right to our page. And that concludes this video. So if you have questions, do let me know. This was a pretty simple thing to add within Oxygen Builder, thanks to how easy Oxygen Builder allows you to build out your header. And again, I did this using the actual header builder. You could do this regardless of how your header is built, even if you had a just a section up here, or if you've made two sections. So I'll actually do that just to show you. So I'm going to go ahead and add in two sections here. And I'm going to drag them all the way up above our header. And what I'm going to do is I'll just color these slightly different here. And I didn't want text color, I apologize. There, we want background color. There we go. And we'll do the same thing on this one and do slightly different. And in this top one, we'll just add, I'm going to do two divs, set our layout here to horizontal and middle, and we'll go space between here, so it should push them to both edges. And we'll, in this div, add a, let's see here, let's do some text links. So we'll do two, and we'll have to come back to those, and we'll just set this to email@email.com, and this one to a phone number, do 123-456-7890. I'm gonna click done there. And we're gonna set these to horizontal as well, and put a little bit of spacing between them here. So I'll just add it to the first one. And again, I'm not worrying too much about my design here, just trying to show you the layout. And on this one, I'm going to again set this to horizontal, and we're going to set some link wrappers, and we're going to put an icon in there. And I'm just gonna repeat that a couple of times. And actually, I want to repeat my link wrapper, not my icon. So you can see we have 3 of them there. I'm just going to throw a little bit of spacing on here just to separate them. And we'll come back up to our section here, which I believe has some spacing on it already. And I'm going to take that out. All right, so you can see we have those there, and maybe I'll put a little bit on there still. And I'm going to do the same thing on our next section here. In this one, we're just going to add in an image. Actually, we'll start with our div. Duplicate that. I'm going to set my section to horizontal again, middle, and do space around again. And in here, we're going to add our image. And I'm just going to set my width to 100 pixels. We're just assuming that's going to be our logo. And over in this div, we're going to add in a menu. You can do the regular menu or a pro menu. And I'm going to set my spacing on this one again to 10 and 0. So you can see we built headers here. Again, I didn't do everything properly because I just wanted to quickly show you this. So we have both of those there as if you did a top header and then your main header with your actual menu. So what I'm going to do here in our case is we'd want to take our original text link that is our skip to content. And what I would do is just drag it all the way up to our very top item here. And you can see that right now it's not quite far enough up. If I did hit save and jump to our front end, again, you can see it's still got our main in here from when I clicked refresh. So I'm just going to take that out. So it takes us back to our top. So you can see right now it's not quite far enough up and it's showing here. So if that's the case for you, all you'd want to do is come into advanced and effects, transform, and we go to -175. And you can see it's all the way off now. And if we go to our front end, you can see it's not showing now. And if I hit my tab, that's the first thing we get to. And if I click enter, it's again going to take us to our main section. And if I hit tab again, it's going to take us to our first button. So again, jump back to the top. And if I just hit tab again, it'll take me right through an order here. And because I didn't actually link our logo in this case, it just jumped right to our menu items. So again, it doesn't matter whether you use the actual header builder or if you build your own header and set everything up. The important part is just that you want to make sure that your text link is the very first link within your hierarchy of your structure here. And again, you want to make sure that you're setting your tab index on that, which is under your attributes. And the other main thing to keep in mind, as I mentioned, is under settings, page settings, and scripts, that we make sure that our checkbox here and also under global styles and scripts is unchecked. Because if we do that, and I'll go ahead and show you just so we have that, I'm going to click save, jump back to our front end here. And you can see when I hit tab again, instead of going to my button, it took me back up here. So that's why we want to make sure that we have this unchecked. So again, I'll do that again for you. I'm going to take out our main here, click enter. from the top of the page, if I hit tab, you can see our skip to content button comes in. If I hit enter, you can see it looks like it takes us to our main content, but as soon as I tab again, it just takes me back to the next link on the page, not inside the actual main. So as soon as I come up and uncheck this and click save again, if I hit refresh, and we'll try this again. So I hit tab, hit enter, and again it scrolls us to our main. And if I hit tab again, it takes us to our next button. So those are the important things that I just wanted to mention. I have seen a few people run into that and wanted to make sure I mentioned that in my video. Again, if you have questions regarding this, do let me know down in the comments below. And I hope this helps you make your website more accessible.